Welcome to the Love Government. I'm Dennis Leary, and we are doing a series of talks on sex lover, and this will be the third in the series. We've been talking about the love culture upon which the love government is based, and about the stories they would have told, and trying to get into their mindset, because they are the template for us. They're our ancestors. When we arrived on the scene, however we did, maybe we were made by star people, or who knows. But if we are lovers, and every evidence points to the fact that we are lovers, then whoever made us would have been superior lovers, or lovers with greater intelligence and greater abilities. Just imagine what technology it took to make a human being, or even a tree or a leaf, much less the whole universe. I mean, there's something very, very great behind all of this. And it takes a great story to tell it. You just can't tell it in a sentence, or even a logical progression. It has to be lived and told and retold and lived out by people. So that's what we're doing here. We're trying to relive that particular story. And the story is all centered upon the woman, because she brings forth the life, and she carries the culture with her, with the assistance of the men. This was the arrangement. This is the arrangement of nature. In nature, a woman goes first. A woman and her child goes first. And then the men assist that. If the ship goes down, the captain and the men do what they can to save the women and the children. That's what it is designed to be. Makes sense. You've got to keep the race going. The lovers of that culture then centered on this magnificent creation of the lovers of all space and time, and that was the woman particularly. Now, the man is very beautiful too, but the woman has more capacity. Now let's look at how they looked at the woman, who was the center of their culture. Her body was exceedingly beautiful and functional. All-attractive one. The all-attractive one was the woman. Now, patriarchy has reversed that story and made gods the all-attractive people, all-powerful, all-knowing. But that's a reversal of the original story. That's his story, and that is designed to bring down her story. So we're rewriting the rewrite now in this thing. Now we're getting down to the essence of things, to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is something that we're portraying here, and I am portraying it in the way I dress. I don't normally dress this way. I mostly work in the garden. I have work clothes on. But here for this, I'm making a point through the cards, the setting, and my dress, and my manner, and words. So I have on a shirt that's kind of like a blouse, right? It's kind of like feminine. And then I have jewelry on, right? Here's a pendant that's also feminine, and this ring I'm wearing is a ring. I ordinarily don't do this, but I'm doing it to show something. This ring and this pendant are the same, basically, and that shows a woman's clitoris, if you could see it up close. And I did a drawing up here on my left. That is a picture of the vulva of a woman. This is her sexual center. And the almond shape, or the oval shape of that generally is the vulva of the woman. It's like a flower. Think Georgia O'Keeffe, you know. And this was a great reverence in a love culture. Didn't have all the shame and guilt and foolishness that we have. And still in art, in Hindu art, for example, the vulva is shown. And in Celtic art, in Irish, English, there's a goddess, Sheila Ganig, And she also shows her vulva openly, and it's reverenced and it's respected. And now we are looking at that with the same kind of respect. The vulva then is shaped like an aura, like the human aura, really around the body, but it's shaped also like an almond. And as seen up there, it's the white part of it with a red border. Then if you'll notice, there's a pink color up there, and that is the clitoris. There's the head of the clitoris, which is situated in the upper part of the vulva, and then the clitoris has 2 arms and 2 legs. I took that drawing from anatomy books, and the most beautiful book that I read it a few years ago was called Eve's Secrets by a woman, Josephine Sevely, and she published it in 1987. And she went around to big libraries like Harvard studying, and she wrote a magnificent book. But it's not really, it isn't very well liked, because it does, first of all, it talks about the clitoris, which is, it's like not very popular until recently. Now it's becoming popular among feminist circles. They suddenly realized, whoa, we got something here that really has been suppressed, and now we want to bring it to light. So now we also have modern technologies like MRIs, magnetic resonance imagery, and they've had women come in and they take MRIs of them, and then they can show a 3-dimensional clitoris in motion, in action, and you get the same picture. Amazing. And that's the picture that's shown here on this ring. It shows what's up there and on the pendant. And these are made by a company who's, obviously have feminine inclinations. They want to get the message out about the clitoris. So what's so important about the clitoris? The clitoris is the only organ, human organ, that is designed directly for pleasure. The clitoris comes from a Greek word that means key, and it means some type of pleasure, like stimulating or titillating, or that kind of, it has a pleasure aspect of it. The clitoris then is an organ that is for pleasure, and it fits in with the Garden of Eden story. Eden in Greek means pleasure also. And that's a translation of the Hebrew, which also meant some kind of a pleasure. Pleasure, delight, where waters gather. That's the meaning of Eden, where waters gather. Because in the love cultures, the people gathered around water, naturally. They gathered in groves of trees, which were situated around water, wells. I was in Ireland, living in Ireland for a year, and they had all kinds of holy wells all around, of old shrines, of old people, customs. They gathered around the water. Even today in churches, you have holy water founts coming into the church. And you get sprinkled with water sometimes in the churches. And people are baptized with water. All of this goes back to the love culture. We start here with what we got today, modern religions, patriarchal religions mostly. They have traces of the old religions in them, though, the original religion. We go back through the pagan era, like the Roman and Greeks and so on, their stories. Pagan just means common person. And then we go back to the love culture. So there's 3 stages in telling his story and her story and our story. There's his story, which is like consciousness, which we have today. We live in a sea of his story, which is basically one big lie, because they've rebelled against the original story and told their own, which is about man and his power. And you go back another step into the pagan culture, and that's kind of like going from the conscious to the unconscious, because we really, it's kind of unknown what they're farther away from us. Then you have to go back to a third step. That's back to her story. That's what I'm talking about, and that's called the lovesious level. There's the conscious level, which is the most obvious to us. We're actually, we're conscious. And then we have the unconscious, which is really not consciousness. It's a consciousness, but it's just under the consciousness. And then we go back to the lovesious. So there's this 3-stage affair going on here. It's quoted even in the body. The conscious level is contained mostly in our head, right? We think with our head. We think with our minds, and we visualize, the wheels turning up here, and we're conscious because we have a head, and the senses are located in the head. And then we go a step lower, and that's the unconscious, and that's the heart level. Come down to here, this is the heart, and that is the site of lots of strange things that go on in the heart. It's the site of feeling, deep feeling, or feelings that you get if you feel joyful or you feel sad or anxious or tight. You feel it in your heart, right? You get this ache in your heart, or if you're anxious or been rejected or whatever. You feel an ache in your heart. You feel all these things in your heart. It's the romantic center. The romantic center. But there's one place that we're getting to that's even deeper than that and more vital, more important, but it's been repressed, and that is the sexual center. That's down here, as we talked about with the pubic triangle, the woman's triangle. That's her pubic hair pointing down to her vulva and pointing down to the center of the earth. That is the lovesious area, and that's the deepest level. But it's been so repressed by patriarchy that we don't know much, we don't really associate it much with thinking or feeling. But really, that's where our thoughts come from, and that's where our feeling comes from in a lovesious sense. So there's these 3 centers, the head, the heart, and the vulva, that are our centers, like chakra centers or something like that. The clitoris, then, is the only organ designed directly for pleasure, so it's of vital importance. And this being rediscovered now by mainly feminists, and they have like a company, that's where I get the ring, and there's some woman, there's an artist out there who has made a beautiful sculpture, golden sculpture of a clitoris, and then she puts on art shows, and she's trying to propagate this idea. And it's a beautiful, magnificent thing to discover. And as I was saying, the pink area there shows the clitoris, which is behind the vulva. All right, it's time, I think, to draw this to a close, this session. And we will give a love sign as usual. And let's give a clitoral sign. Like I'm wearing a ring, clitoris. A clitoris has 5 extensions, the full clitoris. A head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. And the hand has 5 extensions. The human body has 5 extensions, head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. So when you give a hi or goodbye sign, you're really showing the clitoris. You're really showing a love sign, which is deep down, even beyond the unconscious, into the lovesious level. When you're going down deep in here. And this is really deeply repressed. Deeply repressed. And it sounds weird, it sounds strange to us, and we react against it because we're conditioned to by patriarchy. Anyway, thank you for being with us on this journey. We're on a journey, we're telling a story, we're building a structure and a relationship. And it's the greatest thing we can do. Thank you. Love, love, and more love.